And please, we'd like to keep this as civil as possible. This is a nonpartisan position, so questions like who'd you vote for, things like that won't be asked, but ones that are germane specifically to Alpine School Board District. All right, so, and those questions will be done randomly here. Each candidate is going to have a 3-minute intro where they can introduce themselves, and if you can, feel free to applaud if you like. We want to keep it kind of to a minimum. While they're answering the questions, though, please don't applaud so we can get through those quickly, because each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question. Now, should their name, one of the candidates' name, be invoked during that question, they can have a 30-second rebuttal. Okay? We will go do questionings until roughly 8:15. At that point, the candidates will have 4 minutes to give a closing statement. And then after that, mix and mingle all you want, talk about whatever issue, introduce yourself to the candidates. I would definitely advise that. And if your question didn't get asked, that'd be a great time to ask it. Okay? But first, I'd also like to introduce our moderator tonight, Miss Sid Lamone. She is on the Pleasant Grove City Council, has been doing that for 10 years, been through 3 mayors. She's a glutton for punishment. We love her. Anyways, I'm going to turn it over to Sid tonight, and she will take care of the questions and moderate this debate.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Greg, and thanks so much for opening your home. This is awesome. I've had cottage meetings where one person comes, and that was my husband. So this turnout for a Friday night on spring break is, thank you for coming tonight. And I know that being a candidate up there, having debates, it's so important to have just an awesome crowd and people there, willing to ask questions and take time out of their day to come and learn about the candidates. So thank you so much for coming. I know you could be doing a lot of different things on a Friday night, but I'm just shocked from my past experience with how many people in the seats tonight. So thank you. Greg, if it's okay, I'm gonna wonder if I can even come to this chair because I can't see Amber from right here. I can't see. Okay, so I'm just gonna move to this seat. Greg and I just went through the questions. There were a lot, so thank you for submitting questions. But because there were a lot, we had to eliminate a few so we can get through tonight and make sure that we all aren't here till midnight. So we went through the questions, but again, if yours did not get asked tonight or will not be asked, feel free to come up and talk to the candidates after, but we tried to be fair in the questions that we chose to ask tonight. And I might take a minute and when I'm in my seat right here to look through, because we were trying to go through really quickly so we could start as soon as possible. So, and thank you for the candidates. Again, I've been through several elections. I know what this is like to sit up in the hot seat and also to run a campaign. It's a lot of time and money away from your family, and it's just a lot of resources that you're putting in so you can make our community better at the school level. So thank you so much. I know how important that is. I'm a lifelong Pleasant Grove resident. You're not running for the seat that I'll be, for our seat. Mark Clement is our representative, but grew up here in Pleasant Grove. I'm a longtime resident and Viking, and I've had children go through the Alpine School District, and I just know how important these seats are and what you'll be doing to represent our families. So thank you so much. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm just going to sit right here and ask these questions in the glass bowl.
Do introductions first.
Introductions, okay.
And
so
I'll be your time.
Okay, you're in time. Okay, and we'll start with Amber for the introductions. And then Greg, do you want to go over the rules really quick after they get done introducing themselves?
I'll go over the rules again, so everybody's.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, you could just like a 30-second.
Yeah, I'll give you.
Okay, thank you. I feel like I can't see it.
So do you want to sit there?
Hello.
That would be awesome.
No,
Thank you so much.
my name's Amber Bonner. So I live in Cedar Hills, Utah. I'm married to Dave Bonner, who is here supporting me. I appreciate that. We have 7 children. 4 of my children are still attending our Alpine District schools. I have 2 at Lone Peak and 1 at Mountain Ridge and 1 at Cedar Ridge. And then I have 3 students that are in college. 1 is graduating in 2 weeks from BYU and 2 at Utah State. So education is really important to me and to my family. I think that education is the thing that we do that makes the biggest difference in the lives of our children. And as a society, that makes the biggest difference in the lives of our children. And because of that, I feel very passionately about helping in schools and about supporting our students and our teachers and our parents as they're going through the school process. Because of that, I've done a lot of things in our schools to support our schools. I served for 10 years on the school community council at Cedar Ridge, 5 years as chair. I served for 4 years on the community council at Mountain Ridge and for 4 years on the community council at Lone Peak.
I've held PTA positions at those 3 schools, including 3 years as treasurer at Mountain Ridge. Let's see, what else? Oh gosh, I've been a room mom. I've taken the opportunity to volunteer in my kids' classes weekly since my oldest was in kindergarten, which was in 2005. So that's been a long time. I love to be in our classrooms. I love to see what's happening. I love to see what's going on with our teachers, what's going on with our students. I've had some wonderful experiences with our students. A couple of times principals requested me to be an aide, so I've been an aide in the classroom twice, 2 different school years. I also feel really strongly about supporting our entire community, and so I've done a lot of things with our community. I spent 10 years with North Utah County Soccer as an age group coordinator, setting up soccer teams for a wide variety of teams throughout mostly the north end of the county. I was really heavily involved when my boys were a little bit younger with Boy Scouts. I've been an Eagle Guide, I've been a committee chair, I've been a Cub committee chair. We've had a lot of opportunities there also. I feel I'm a Viking. Like I said, I graduated from Pleasant Grove High School, and at the time, Cedar Hills, where I live now, was part of the Pleasant Grove High School boundary. And I remember thinking, who in their right mind would live all the way out here? Because it seems so far. But we've lived there 20 years now, and we love it. I love the community that I'm a part of. I love helping in my kids' schools, and I want to do everything I can to make those as good as possible.
My name is Sarah Beeson, and I can vouch for Amber. I've worked with Amber for 4 years on the school board currently, and she has a lot of passion for education. It's been a pleasure to work with her and learn a lot from her. I've definitely seen her strengths and appreciate her. Getting to know Lana tonight, she's wonderful as well, and I appreciate the opportunity tonight, and thank you for coming. My husband and I live in American Fork. We both graduated from Orem High, so we traded in our stripes to cavemen, and we couldn't be happier. We're thrilled to be out here. We've been out here for about 18 years. Both of my parents were educators. My mom taught at Forbes for a long time, and my father taught in Nebo School District, so raised by educators, and my husband Sam is an educator and has taught at American Fork High School for 25-ish years. We have 5 children and 4 grandchildren and 1 on the way. My youngest child is graduating this year from American Fork High School, which is so odd to us not to have a child at the school. It's been a long time, so that's going to be weird for both of us. Our grandson will be starting 1st grade, and they live out in Saratoga Springs. Along with the Utah State Constitution, I really do believe that parents have the primary role of educating their children. And I believe that education and school districts help and support that, and it's important for all of us to be informed. And I feel like we are a really informed community, and I think this group is unique, and we have well-informed people. And I feel like it's important, especially in the last couple of years. It's been really difficult for parents and for educators, and I'm just hoping that the next couple of years we can bridge the gap that's been there and have more unity. I feel like we owe that to our children, to be able to teach them that it's important that if you have different opinions and differing opinions, we can get along and we can agree kindly. And that's a worry to me, that our children are seeing that if you don't agree, we're enemies, we're not friends, and that is a huge concern for me. And so I feel like it is time, now that we have COVID behind us, we are going to move on and get into the business of education and teaching our kids, and also teaching them great lessons of being kind and being the example as adults. That's really important to me. Again, thank you for coming tonight.
Good evening, my name is Lana Nelson, and I'm really excited to be here with these ladies tonight. I've been able to meet with them and talk with them, and I really value what they've done for our school system and our children. And I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a native of Bountiful, Utah. I was born and raised here in Utah. My husband and I met at BYU, and I came down to BYU to go to school. I served took a little break, served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and served in Argentina, where I thought I perfected my Spanish skills, and then I come back here and I learn I don't. know how to even speak Spanish. So, but I love that opportunity. At that time, I worked a lot in Utah County hospitals for Intermountain Healthcare and had a lot of opportunities to work with the community and use my Spanish skills quite a bit. While I was at BYU, I earned a degree in public relations. That literally is a degree of 4 years of learning how to listen. In public relations, we learn how to find solutions. We work with people, and the way that we do that is by talking to them, listening to them, surveying them, polling them, getting data and information back, so then we can go ahead and move forward and make proposals based on that data and that information. I continue to be a working woman. Part-time, I continue to work in marketing, and I manage a variety of clients, from dental offices to retail stores to plastic surgeons, a huge variety where they spend budgets from $1,000 a month up to $60,000 a month. I'm monitoring those and keeping track of those budgets and working with those people. I have 3 children in the school district. My husband and I moved to Cedar Hills 18 years ago because we love the canyon. We love the trails. We're avid mountain bikers, and we can just jump across the street and get on a trail, and I love that. And my husband and I have run a mountain bike race series for 20 years with men and women competing and children competing, and we love that. My 3 kids are 15, 10, and 5 at Deerfield Elementary, Cedar Ridge Elementary, and also Mountain Ridge Junior High. And I've loved the time I've gotten to be in their classrooms. I've been a volunteer from everything from kindergarten on up in their classrooms. That has decreased with COVID. I look forward to the time when I can return to my classrooms with my children, eat lunch with them every Friday like I used to, which is not a possibility right now, and have that interaction with my kids and their peers. And I'm excited to be here tonight. I really appreciate all of you coming out tonight. And I've met a lot of you at all of the debates that I've been attending over the past couple of weeks and been able to answer a lot of questions. It's been wonderful. And we'll talk more tonight. Thanks.
Okay, so Sue wanted me to go back over the format again real quick. So she'll pull up a question out of the bowl. Since you started, Amber, with the introductions, the first question will go to you, Sarah, and then to Lana, and then just keep rotating through who goes first, okay? You'll get 2 minutes to answer the question. Should any one of the candidates' names be invoked during that question, answering, you get a 30-second rebuttal, okay? And again, we'll do questions until 8:15. Any questions on the process? And again, please, if you would, save any comments or questions until after the meeting, all right? Thank you.
Okay, let's start out with the first question, and that is, why are you running for this seat on the school board?
I think I'll say it.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
That question is, why are you running for this seat on the school board?
I've been currently serving on the school board for the last 4 years and have had different responsibilities. Currently, I'm the vice president of the school board and work on the policy team and the communications team and the equity team and committees. And I feel, and I kind of went through this a little bit during my introduction, but I feel like it's really unique, more than it was even 4 years ago when I was running. And I feel like we're in the precipice of doing things a little differently because of so much divisiveness. I feel like it's important for all of us to be able to get together and to have conversations. We've seen things from school boards across the nation. It's been pretty divisive. And I feel grateful because I feel like Alpine School District, they do have committees that parents serve on. And we want to see more of that. And I know that there has been a lot of division and difficulty with parents not feeling like they've been involved or haven't had a voice. And I feel like it's a great opportunity to say, not to push away, but to say, come have a seat at the table and let's hear that. I think the biggest important thing that a leader does is listen. And listen to find out more information. You can get a free education by just simply listening to other people and what that's like. And I feel like I have that personality type. I love people, I love to learn, and I think it's important to listen And even to people, most importantly to people that maybe you don't agree with everything, I think that is crucial, especially right now, to be a listener. And the other thing that I think is important too with a leader and why I'm running is I think it's important that we hold our leaders accountable when mistakes are made. And to be able to say, at least for the people that I elect, I want to hear them say, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, and I'm going to do better. I don't think any of us expect our leaders to be perfect, but at least to acknowledge that when they make mistakes and that they can do better. So that's part of the reason I'm running.
Well, I am running because of you, the parent. I care about the parent and what they have to say. And the more I have talked with parents and the more I've been at these debates and these events over the past couple of weeks, they want to be heard, and they need to be heard, and they should be heard. And as it says in the Republican Party platform for Utah, that the primary responsibility with education lies upon the student and the parent. It's right there. Parents need to be involved. And so that's why I am running. I also love a section here in the party platform, and forgive me for reading, but it says, the proper role of citizens in this segment here says, we believe a society can only remain free when the majority of its members lead spiritually grounded and morally upright lives and are willing to become involved to preserve these values. I love the part, willing to become involved to preserve these values. I'm willing to become involved. That's why I'm here. And that's why I'm excited to listen to more of you and to represent the parents. I want to be your voice. And I will be your voice. I will take the time to listen. As I mentioned, that's my background. I'm trained in it. That's exactly what I do every single day. I have to listen to concerns and resolve them. And I know that a lot of times there can be hardships and difficulties, and we may not see eye to eye, but you still have to take time to listen to people. Thanks.
Okay, so why I'm running. Like I said before, I really feel that education is the most important thing we do as a society in helping our children and our students to be able to improve their lives. And because of that, that's why I've been so involved and so committed, even from the time my kids were really little, to be involved in my children's schools. One of the things I started quite some time ago, before I even dreamed of running for school board, I started going to all of the school board meetings in 2015. And I published a blog where I took detailed notes of every single meeting, what was happening, what was going on, what people said, what issues they were dealing with. And I published that and sent it out for as many people as I could. I was part of a couple of parent Facebook groups, and I shared it on those Facebook groups. I do still have that blog. If you go to my website, you can look at all of that clear back to 2015. As I decided to run, I wanted to make sure parents had the opportunity to know what we were talking about as a school board. I think a lot of the time what I hear from parents is, I don't even know what you're talking about at the school board. Like, what do you even talk about at your meetings? And so I have a Facebook page where I have tried to spread that information to parents every time we've had a meeting for the last 4 years. And I respond, and I've never turned down an opportunity to meet with a parent or a teacher or a community member about their concerns. I think it's really important that we hear from everyone and get their concerns so that we can come to the decisions that will meet the needs of the majority or the most students possible. Was that it? I'm done?
No, 30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds, okay. So it's been a really important priority to me to make sure that when we do get feedback from parents that we're listening. We had an extra meeting in January, and we had 1,000 online comments from that meeting, and I went through all of those comments and responded to every single comment that was from someone who lived in my area. It took a long time. It was 250 comments, but I responded to every single one because those parents and their viewpoints are important. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is, what are your limits to data collection on students? Do you support partnering with third-party tech companies to house data on students? ASD is partnering with Who Knew It. Did you vote for it, or would you support it?
Well, obviously I didn't vote for it. But as far as limits on gathering data of your students, that's very personal and it's very private. And I know that it does happen, and I would hate for a paper trail to follow my son or my daughter or my children for their entire life, or for however long. And I do have concerns about that. How is that data being collected? Why is it being collected? How is it being used? And then once it's collected, at what point, is it at graduation? Are those files deleted? How is that extinguished? So those are concerns that I have, and I think that type of information needs to be made available and have parent input as well. These are our children. We need to know what's happening with their information. Data, it's sold. It's a currency that people have, and it's something that is becoming more and more valuable. So we need to have limits on that, and parents need to understand what those are and feel comfortable with that and support that. So that's my point of view on that.
Can you read? Yeah, you bet.
We're going that way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I've lost it in the glass full of of questions. Okay, here we go. What are your limits to data collection on students? Do you support partnering with third-party tech companies to house data on students? ASD is partnering with Who Knew It, and would you vote for this if you were on the board?
Okay, so I think data collection is a really difficult subject. I think all of us have probably gotten a letter that says your data was locked, was hacked from so-and-so or whatever. And I don't think we can be too careful with our kids' data. I know that we do occasionally have partners that use that data in a way to, like if they have an app they're using at school to help with reading, or an app they're using for math, it does collect some data. I would expect and hope that as that data is collected so that they can continue using the program, that it be non-identifiable, that the student's information isn't something that can be tracked back to them, and it isn't something that's going to stick with them even until graduation. I would hope at the end of the year, it maybe gets sent to their next teacher, this is the level they were on, but it doesn't go any farther than that, and it shouldn't go any farther than that. Those are not, partnerships like that are not something that is normally brought to the board for a specific vote with an individual company, but I am always happy to look into anything that anyone's concerned about. I'm happy to dig into that and look into it. If anyone would like me to, I would love to do that for you.
And I'm happy to repeat the question again if you'd like.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we are very concerned of data privacy and confidential information, especially with our children. And we want to make sure that if we have third parties, that there is an understanding that we are dealing with underage children. We need to be careful with all that information and where it goes. Like Amber said, we never voted on something specific as Who Knew It. But I will say that parents have every right to be able to question what's going on with data, and even tests and where that data is going, and you can get answers and call and ask. We have people on our board who are concerned about data privacy rights for our students, and also district personnel that are concerned. And so that is something that parents can always bring to the attention of district personnel and board members.
Thank you. The next question is, I know constituents can reach out to elected officials, but detail how you plan to explain and reach out to ASD families and parents.
Okay, so this one for me is easy because I feel like I already do this in a lot of ways. I actually recently put up on my Facebook page and asked people for additional ideas of how I could reach out to parents or to community members that had questions. I'm very active on social media. I'm very active in responding to any emails, any comments, anything I see, or I've given my phone number and I've met with parents as many times as they wanted. Most of the people that responded to that survey told me that they thought I was doing a great job, but I know there are a lot of people who aren't aware of that and don't know what I'm posting there. And so what I asked them specifically was, okay, but how do I reach out to people who don't know about this, who don't already know that this is happening? And that's a tricky thing to do. How do you reach out to people that don't know about what you already have? And that's something that I really would like to explore. I had someone ask me so board members do not have access to Skyward. We can't look up your information or your students' parents' information, but I thought, I don't know if I could send something to my schools and say, hey, if you're interested in connecting with me, here's my email. Here's my Facebook, I don't know, but I am exploring that. What more could I do? And trying to think of some additional ways to do that. I think that's a good thing we should do.
Okay, repeat,
Okay.
just because
Yeah.
I'm over 50.
Yes.
And I need to make sure I get all of that, so thank you.
I know constituents can reach out to elected officials, but detail how you do or plan to inform and reach out to USD parents.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, USD. ASD. I'm hungry for
dollar.
steak.
We have, Amber and Stacy and Julie are phenomenal with their Facebook platform. They do such a good job. I'm older, I don't do Facebook as well. I've kind of always said, Facebook for me personally is not common ground, it's battleground. It just doesn't do it for me. I like the context of seeing what your face looks like or hearing what your voice is. I need to be able to feel and hear and understand your concern on a personal basis. And I hope that, don't take that as a cut, because like I said, Stacy and Amber and Julie do a phenomenal job. It's just as all of us are different and how we reach out to our constituents and how they reach out to us. As a vice president at the very beginning of our tenure with my president, he gave me the responsibility to answer every email that came to the board. And so I kind of looked through all the emails that I have answered or responded to, and I'm close to 2,000. And so I do and have had parents reach out. And I got to tell you my favorite kind of responses with parents. As you can imagine, we had a lot of angry parents during the last couple of years. And I loved getting phone calls from angry parents. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but the reason I loved it is because I feel like anger is the opportunity, and it's really a parent saying, I want change. I don't like what's happening, I want change. And I love hearing that, because as a board member, that's the thing that we want to hear. What is concerning you? Let's sit down and talk about this. And so I think for me personally, and my flyer's there, you can call me on the phone anytime. I will come to your home and meet with you. You can email me. I will, and I'm usually very quick to respond unless I'm in meetings. But like I said, listening is free education. It's a way to listen and to learn. And frankly, I have heard some phenomenal ideas from parents of what can be done. I serve on the communications committee, and that's been fabulous to see. And you're going to have to just read more about that.
Okay, so to date, I have sent out emails to the delegates in my area, in my district, and I have loved being able to receive emails back from them. Today, I actually spent the entire day on the phone with parents asking me questions. They said, I'm not going to be able to make it to the debate tonight. Can I ask you questions now? I loved the fact that they felt already that I'm not even an elected official, that I'm a candidate, and they feel like they can reach out to me. I've been able to meet with a lot of people just at all of the different events I've attended. Regarding Facebook, social media, I know that some people love it, some people do not love it. I think I actually can understand Amber has kind of found her groove, and she's found her niche, and she's found her people that follow her and rely on her for the information that they have. With Sarah, like my husband, he would just say, I'm not even going to look at Facebook, so don't even communicate to me that way. I would actually ask the parents, like Amber was mentioning, ask the parents, what's the most effective way to communicate with you? Is it through each of the school newsletters? I, as a parent, read my school newsletter for each of my children. Is there a way just to say, your representative is this person, here's my phone number, here's my email, just so they at least know my name and have my contact information and can reach out to me at any time. But I love the ability to actually just be one-on-one with people at their level and listen to them and talk with them. I know that people are busy. Everyone has a lot on their plate. They're working moms and dads. They've got a zillion things to run their kids to. Time is precious, but I'm always open to listen to people and talk to them and hear their concerns, and I learn from each of them every time I do. So.
All right.
Thank you. The next question is, gender identity counseling, are you for or against it, and why or why not?
Start, Sarah.
I'm sure you guys have heard that the state school board yesterday, or Friday? I guess yesterday, Thursday, sorry, spring break has, can't remember what day it is, decided that all of the issues are with this topic are going to be going into local school boards, which I think is probably wise, and to take it by a case-by-case basis. I think that we need to be sensitive to the issue, and yet I think it's a family issue. And I think when families and parents are able to work with schools, that's probably the best way to deal with such sensitive issues with our students.
Okay, I agree that it's a very personal, private issue, and I've seen it be of concern to people in my neighborhood, friends, neighbors. I do feel like the schools need to be sensitive to it, but it needs to be on a case-by-case basis too. And the kids need to feel like they're in a safe spot, that they're in a safe place, that they can go to school and not be ridiculed by anyone, by their peers. And working together, I think the parents and the educators can create that safe haven for them.
So just to clarify, the question was, do we support gender identity counseling, correct? I would say that I don't think that's in the realm of the schools. That's not appropriate for school discussions. That is an issue that should be handled with the family. It's not, if a family comes and parents come and ask for some type of accommodation for their child, that's a different situation, but that's not counseling. We should not be providing counseling.
Okay, the next question. HB 331, aka the Hope Scholarship, allows school funds to be diverted to the parents if they choose not to enroll their kids in public school, allowing them to have school choice. Do you support HB 331? Why or why not school choice, and specifically HB 331?
I actually do support school choice. I think that the primary responsibility of education does lie with the parent, and they know their child, they know their needs, and they know what's available to them. There are a lot of different options, charter schools, public schools, and I think parents should have the first and primary responsibility of deciding what is best for their children's education and where that goes.
Okay, so HB 331. First, I will say I absolutely am supportive of parents being the primary decision makers in all education decisions of their children. They choose where their kids go to school. They choose how they school their kids. However, I was not supportive of HB 331, and there are several reasons for that. The first reason was the legislation was a little bit tricky because we already have two scholarship programs that are very similar to the Hope Scholarship Program. One of them is called Carson Smith, and the other one is, I can't remember the name of the other one, but both of them do not use the entire funding that they have available to them now. And so it seems like to me that what we really need to do is look at those two programs, see what they're providing already, see how we can help those programs get the funding that they already have to the students who need it, rather than creating a whole third program with more administrative cost and more, the bill allowed for an individual entity to administrate, where I feel like that administration could possibly be handled by the USBE, by the local school board, by someone else. It seems like it wouldn't be a good idea to increase the administrative cost. Also, another problem with Hope Scholarship, I have a lot, was it still gave partial scholarships to students from families making more than $300,000 a year, which to me felt like I don't know that we should be losing education money for our special ed students and for other students and providing private school scholarships when you have families that could afford that. Another issue with it was that I think there is some type of accountability needed for public funding. And sending a child with public funds to a private school that has no type of public accountability, that starts to jeopardize what could happen and what should happen at private schools. If a parent wants, oh, okay.
Amber's well versed with this because she serves on our legislative committee and she's done such an awesome job this year. And so she's brought up some good points that we discussed as a board. And it's funny how bills on the outset, they look like they're great bills until you kind of read and find out more about the funding. And there's always these fun little catchwords like choice, which sounds great because we are all about choice. But when the funding is just a little wonky, it makes it a little bit more difficult. And so I would agree with what Amber had said there is we agree with the choice of course, where kids are educated. I think in Alpine School District currently, if you live in Orem and your kid attends Mountain View and you work in American Fork and you want your kid to go to American Fork High School, you can do that. You can make the choice. You have the choice of where your kids need to go. But as far as the funding, we need to be careful and to utilize what is currently already there. I thought that bill, it sounded good, but there was some more underneath that I don't think everyone was familiar with, and I agree with Amber on that one.
Oh, you've already gone. Yeah. Next question. Do we spend too much on administration with the budget?
Oh, I love budget questions. So budget is I'm a budget nerd. And I served on our budget committee for 3 years and it was fascinating. I tease our business administrator all the time because he'll say, I have another juicy spreadsheet for you. I'm like, I don't think you understand what that means. But I love budget questions. That's an interesting question because it depends on what you are looking for. So Alpine School District spends near the bottom in the state per student on administrative cost. Utah spends the least in the country per student on the administrative costs. So are we paying too much? I don't know. Let's look at that. Let's look at what things we're seeing that we don't think provide value. And if those things don't provide value to us and they're causing our administrative costs to increase, then yeah, let's cut it. Let's cut it. And I have advocated for some of those changes. But at the same time, if we have an administrative need that we don't have filled, would I not fill it just because we're already spending quote unquote too much on administration? I don't think so. I think that we need to look at what the individual needs are and then decide whether or not we're spending an appropriate amount or not. Like I said, I do think it's a common misconception that we're spending massive amounts of money on administration. I don't think the data supports that. If you look at the Utah Taxpayers Association's most recent reports that they give out on school funding, Alpine is near the bottom in the state and Utah is near the bottom in the country per student on administrative cost.
It's just Robson. We've addressed this concern as a board many times, and one of the concerns was, are we admin heavy? Do we have more administrators than we have teachers? And I have to tell you, there is a misconception there because my husband is a school teacher and I was a stay-at-home mom. And we have always been grateful, and especially during the pandemic, he got a paycheck every month. And I know that there were families that were struggling. My husband, newsflash, didn't get into the education business because it's so lucrative. And so we knew that there would be some sacrifices. We've never ever felt like the admin didn't deserve what they were getting, and I think sometimes we focus on that. But as far as salaries are concerned, with the admin, they're on the lower end of what Jordan's is paying or what Canyons are paying their administrators. It's a little bit of a lower cost. We're excited because this last couple of years we've done some things to help with increasing salaries of our teachers and things that we're currently still working on with the local union to help our teachers be able to make more money. And so I would say that in terms of administration, we've got a district that is concerned about that and a board that's extremely concerned, making sure that we are not top heavy. And so I believe that with some of the new changes that may be coming this year, I think that it will send a message to teachers that we do care about them.
Okay, I would say if people are raising this concern, then it is a concern, and that it is not being communicated well. These ladies have pointed out that this district is in the lower part of payment, and I just feel like from the parents that I do speak with, the teachers that I do speak with, they do have concerns, and I love the points that you've brought out, that there is data that supports it, but if there are items that can be looked at and reviewed, and parents are part of that process as well, and can help in determining what would be best for our school district, because the parents that I do talk with do feel like the teachers are in the classroom, they're putting in a lot of work, a lot of effort, and their pay is very minimal compared to the administrative staff, and those are the concerns that I hear. So if there really is a reason that they're getting paid that much, let's shout it out. Let's tell why. Let's explain why. So maybe the people of the community can better understand. And then at that point, let's review and make any additional changes that need to be made. Are there things that we can cut? And if so, let's get public input from that as well. What is necessary? What is not necessary? I think if we can involve parents in that process, they will embrace and understand the salaries and support instead of being frustrated.
Next question. It has been said that critical race theory and the like are not being taught in our schools. Assuming that is the case, would you like to see it taught in Alpine School District? If so, why or why not?
As far as critical race theory, we know that, all you have to do is look at news. There have been schools that are proponents and advocate for critical race theory. Alpine School District does not. We don't support critical race theory or any of the appendages like the 1619 Project. When critical race theory started to become a thing, and they were creating the 1619 Project, which I think was the late summer, early fall of 2019, I remember approaching my superintendent and expressing some concern in particular the 1619 Project, which really is an appendage of CRT. I know that there has been discussion on a state school board level. I know that we've had discussions with parents, and there seems to be the discussion of no, CRT is not taught because CRT really is a postgraduate philosophy and it's not being taught in schools. And that's fine. But if there is something that is being taught that talks about how we should be ashamed of who we are for being white or our race, that sounds like critical race theory. Alpine School District does not support that, but supports really deeper learning with the core curriculum. And I am not supportive of CRT, and I'm not supportive of the 1619 Project or other appendages that teach that with our kids. And frankly, I find it kind of interesting in the last couple of years, before COVID-19, we were really digging our heels in with the social emotional part of kids, and it just seems counterintuitive to say you should be ashamed of who you are. And I know that we could have discussions about that later, but bottom line, we don't teach it, and I'm not supportive of it, and the district doesn't advocate for that.
I do not support CRT either. I don't believe that's something that should be taught in our schools and integrated into any part of the curriculum at all. It's an ideology, a philosophy that does not belong in the teachings, especially at any level of our schools. I've had parents, almost every single meeting I've attended in the last couple of weeks, ask me about CRT. Do I support it? Do I not? And why? And I think school is a place where kids need to feel loved, accepted, equal, and cherished, and their values and their principles need to be seen. And CRT does not do that. It's divisive, it's destructive, it doesn't help families at all, it doesn't help individuals at all. it's interesting to talk to parents who do feel like they see it seeping through just even small little math programs, reading programs, and that question the statements or even the questions that are in some of those programs. I do not support CRT, and as a board member, I would be diligent in being a watchkeeper and making sure that the curriculum that is in our school district does not support CRT or have it involved.
So I guess we're 3 for 3. I am also not supportive of CRT being taught in our schools. I don't think it's appropriate for students, for K-12 students at all. And if that's a graduate level theory that people want to take in graduate school, then they can make that choice, but it's not appropriate to be pushed on our children in K-12. I think the bigger question frequently for parents is to the parent who would ask me about CRT, I would say, what did you see that you are concerned about? What thing, because I think if you ask a dozen people to define CRT, you're going to get a dozen different answers. And so I think when we have those conversations about CRT, we have to be really careful that we're talking the same language. That when a parent says, well, okay, I didn't mean CRT, I meant my kid got taught this about race or something. Let's have a discussion about that. Let's understand what your concern is, whether or not the label that we're both using has the same definition. But I do think it's important to know the House and Senate passed resolutions last year that our K-12 schools cannot teach that one race is better or worse than another. They also cannot teach that moral character is determined by your race. And so those documents, as well as our state school board passed a document denouncing racism and talking about how racism is destructive. We're responsible to treat others with respect, and for schools that all students should feel safe and have equitable opportunities. I think those things are, thank you, I think those are things that we're talking about in this realm. And I think as we're looking at what the House and Senate said in their resolutions, as we're looking at what the USBE guidance has been, there is no place in our schools right now, or hopefully ever, for CRT. It just isn't appropriate.
Thank you, each of the candidates. These are hard questions. The next one is, how would you respond to parents who are concerned about inappropriate and often pornographic books that have entered our school libraries? What standards should be applied to what books can be admitted?
Okay, I've been asked this question quite a bit by parents in the last couple of weeks, and I am wholeheartedly supportive of books, of age-appropriate books being in our school system. Kids who are younger have developing minds, and they should not be subject to seeing anything at their school that's a little bit shocking to them. I'll give the example, and this is just happened last week at Cedar Ridge Elementary, but my daughter was attending the school fair, the school book fair, and she came home and she said that she and her friend were really shocked at a book that they saw at the school book fair, and she wanted to report it to the principal because she felt it was inappropriate. And the book was My Moms Love Me. And her friend and her they both said, this does not belong in an elementary school at all. Now, this was a book fair, not the library, but it was still in the school. And who's overseeing that? And who's overseeing the books that are in our schools? And once a book gets in, I know it's harder to get it out. And I just think there needs to be a better process in place, and parents need to be able to. I had one parent say, I want to go onto my child's website, the school website, and be able to look up and see exactly all the books that are at Cedar Ridge Elementary, and have access to that. We as parents want to know, we want to be involved. I was grateful for my daughter for bringing this up to me and showing me this. The problem is that libraries need to be a safe place. And my daughter was really confused. She felt like she was in a safe place. She was around adults that she knew and trusted. And why are they putting up material that is confusing to her, that she, as a 10-year-old, knew was inappropriate and signaled red flags to her? We need to be the adults and take more action.
Was it you?
Yes.
I want to introduce you to Amber. Sorry about that, Amber. It's fine. Yeah, this is an issue that's creeped up a little bit, and I will say something that's unique with Alpine School District, probably with other districts within Utah, is that we have the trust lands program, and by virtue of having trust lands, we have school community councils. And those community councils, yes, they decide where money needs to go and where to support those in schools, but they are also used as a resource to be able to vet certain things that happen at the school. And so there is a parent group there, a resource that we are able to use to have parents that have issues with books can bring it to that community council. Alpine School District doesn't have necessarily a policy with books, but what the policy says is, for example, maybe in Aspen Elementary, there is a book that's concerning to a parent or a child. They bring it to the community council. Let's say it's extremely loud and incredibly close. Let's say, which I don't know why that would be at Aspen Elementary, but bad example there. But anyway, a book that was concerning to a parent, you would bring it there. And maybe that group, that parent group would say, yeah, it doesn't hold the values of our Aspen community, and we're not going to have this book. But it could look completely different at Greenwood. That could be something that they do have in their libraries. We make sure as a district, and especially as a board, that we're giving autonomy to schools, because communities are a little bit different. And that, I think, is a great idea, because it gives every parent the opportunity to get involved and to go through a parent vetting process, which I feel that's the way it should be. We should be getting involved, and it will look different, because we're giving schools the autonomy to be able to choose by virtue of the parents and where their concerns are of what books should and should not be in their school libraries.
So a few months ago, when this subject started popping up more and more, I reached out to the superintendent, and then I followed up a couple of weeks ago, and I said, so tell me, what are we doing? What are we doing in the district level? And I said, I would really like to see, we do have an instructional materials policy, but that policy doesn't really specifically address library books. And so it could be applied to library books, but it doesn't really specifically address that. And he said that currently, with the new instructional material bills that were passed this last session, the USBE is currently still working on what guidelines they'll be giving to districts, and then as we go through and readjust and relook at our policy, we will make sure our policy fits that. But I had a really great meeting about a month ago with all of the librarians from my area. So that was about 8 librarians. And it was a really good opportunity for me to talk to them about their libraries and about how could it be possible that something would get into your library that maybe even you don't think is appropriate. And we had some good discussion about that. And they said, we curate huge libraries, and maybe there is one page in that one book that we didn't know was there. And so they want parents to bring them things like that are problematic. If the librarian doesn't agree with you and you still think it's a problem, take that to your principal. Let your principal take it to your school community council, and let's have a discussion about whether or not that's appropriate for your school. But another thing I found out that I think we haven't advertised widely enough to parents, it is absolutely possible for your school librarian to put a note on your child's account that they cannot check out a certain type of book or a certain book. I have a kid who loves to read and was failing all of his classes, and I literally had to go in and say to the librarian, please do not let my child check out any more books. I know that's the only time you've ever heard that. No more books for this child until he gets his grades where they're supposed to be. They can do that for you.
Thank you. The next question, should we split the district into 2 or 3 districts?
Because I was last, so, right? Oh, I'm up?
Yeah, because you switched. You kind of got swapped there.
Because we switched. Okay. Would you repeat that?
Yeah, you bet. See, then it goes back in the gospel. Should we split into 2 or 3 districts? Are we large enough to have to split into 2 or 3 districts?
This is a tricky question, because it depends on what metrics you want to look at. As a board, the last time we discussed a district split was about a year ago. As a board, our primary concern about splitting the district would be, could the different areas that we split into all be as successful as we are now if we split? At the time, the data did not seem to indicate that. So we have talked about it quite a bit. There was a motion that we would then not talk about that for, I think it was 5 years. And I said, no, that's way too long. I want us to talk about this much more often. And so what we ended up deciding was we would reevaluate every year. I think it is possible for the district to split and certain sections to be successful. Could every section be successful, and could every student still receive the level of education that they're receiving without some type of major tax increase? That's the question. I don't know. I think it would depend on where the lines are drawn. It would depend on which cities come and go. Orem right now is doing a study where they're considering leaving, which they can do. If a municipality wants to explore that for themselves, they should have the ability to do that. And they do have the ability to do that. However, I think Orem will struggle on their own. They'd be very comparable to Provo. Provo has had some issues that they've struggled with. If they took Vineyard and or Linden or another big chunk, would they be okay? Maybe. So I think it really depends on where exactly you draw the lines. It depends on what your priority is. Orem has a significantly declining student population right now. Can they, on their own, support schools without Vineyard students or without Linden students? That's a good question, because Timpanogos, Orem Junior, Mountain View, Lake Ridge, they all have kids that don't live in Orem at them. So.
Funny, the trend around the country currently is that they're consolidating those smaller districts into bigger districts. I think sometimes we have the feeling that if a district is smaller, that your kid is getting more individualized, or your student's getting more individualized attention. There are a lot of things that Alpine School District can do that not smaller districts can do. For example, if I said to my board or our superintendent, I really do think we ought to run a pilot and do this for this high school, we absolutely could do it, because we have 10 high schools to be able to play with a little bit with that. Provo, they're not so lucky. They don't have that ability to be able to, with 2 high schools, it's hard to run a pilot. So there are some things that are easier to do, better to do, more interesting to do, more innovative to do when your district is a little bit larger. I think we have to find out, and when we are having studies, I think that's something that we're not quite ready to do. This is my personal opinion. I'm not speaking for the board, but I think that preparing that for the future, we would need to make sure that areas have the money it takes for the maintenance and operations of all schools, the salaries and benefits for all their teachers, and see what that's going to look like in terms of a tax increase for that city. That is concerning, and that needs to be talked about, is what does that dollar sign really look like, which I'm sure they'll do when they have the studies. But I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to think that things are better when it's smaller. That's not always the case. I think sometimes bigger, you have more flexibility to do the things that we want to do. And our kids get more opportunities when they have more schools. And so I think that's something to take a look at and to be careful of as we go, and because we know it's probably going to happen in the future. I just don't think we're quite ready for that right now.
So I agree completely with these ladies. I was listening to a couple of the other candidates talk about this very issue about Orem splitting off, and I know that the Orem City Council had conducted and was conducting a survey to get feedback from the residents, and I think that's wise. We need to hear from the residents, see what their thoughts are, but one of the comments was, we can't really make any decisions until we have that information. We don't have that data yet. I also agree that sometimes when you consolidate and make things smaller, you do cut out services and what's available to children. Smaller classrooms doesn't always equal the best opportunities for kids, and also teachers. So I think it's just something that I don't have an answer for right now, because the survey still is not complete. We're still looking at the data that will hopefully come from that third party, and it does need to come from a third party that is conducting that survey. And also keeping in mind that growth is going to continue to happen in North Utah County. And so how are we going to deal with that growth, and just having a vision and creating a plan for that growth, and the things that Sarah was mentioning as well, thinking about all of the tax dollars or the potential money involved in that growth, and how can we create a plan for that and be of best service to those families and to those children. And yes, that's it.
Next question.
Sarah?
Good thing you're keeping us on track because we cannot remember.
And Greg, what time are we at right now?
We're currently at 10 minutes to 8, so
Okay.
we have about 20 minutes left.
Okay. Do we need to raise, does ASD need to raise property taxes again? And if, why or why not? Are there needs coming up that we need to raise property taxes for?
Yeah, that is a big concern. We do, it's kind of like what Lana mentioned. I mean, we have unprecedented growth out west. There's needs there with a new high school, junior high, 3 elementary schools. I mean, the growth of that community is exponential. And that's something that the board is always, trying to balance and figure out. And so those are some things that we have to ask ourselves. And property taxes are the most egregious tax. I hate raising property taxes, and yet at the same time we have folks that move into Utah. That's wonderful. We love that they move here. They're just not used to the idea that an understanding of why their property taxes sometimes are so low, and we have to balance school fees, and we've got a lot of kids here and a lot of growth, and so that is something that the board is currently wrestling with. And we have a wonderful business administrator who is really good with the numbers, and that's something that we're currently looking at. I think we have to be able to, there's some difficulties coming down. I mean, we've got some difficulties that are coming economically that are hitting not just our state, not just our country, but worldwide. And you've heard of food shortages, our gas prices are going up. And so when you talk about raising property tax, that gives me a little anxiety because I don't know what that will look like. And so I think we need to be trepidatious and be careful and be aware of families and what this is going to do for families in our community and what that will do to them financially.
No one likes to hear the words of rising property taxes at all. I had a friend one time cheer and say, "Yay, my property taxes went up." I'm like, "What are you saying?" I just didn't quite understand her point of view, but I agree. Costs in everything are rising and shortages are happening, and so the board has been, this is an issue that they have probably had on their mind every single meeting, and with growth happening out west even at an astronomical rate, and more people moving to Utah because of our wonderful principles and values and the wonderful community that we have and the beautiful area that we live in, I can't blame them for wanting to come here. So we need to be very judicious in the acts that we take and the decisions that we make moving forward, and really look at the big picture and where if we raise taxes this year, what's going to happen the next year? What's the overall outcome going to be if we take this step now? And what's our goal? And we just need to look at things very carefully moving forward and with every step.
I hate property taxes. I hate that they are the way that schools have been given to raise funds, because they fall so unfairly on the poorest among us and those who are on fixed incomes. I just hate it. But I also know that is the way that we've been given. And I'm sitting currently on our capital planning committee, and the building needs in the district, and I'm not talking just brand new buildings in the West, are significant. We have significant needs. We have 3 elementary schools that were built before 1955, and they are not earthquake safe. They need to be rebuilt. They have unreinforced masonry. They need to be rebuilt. And those are all on the east side of the district. We have an elementary school in Saratoga Springs that gained 300 students from last year to this year. They're at 1,200 students right now. You can't, that's a junior high size. Like, they can't stay that size forever. And I war with myself about how to solve that problem, because I have friends and neighbors and siblings and nieces and nephews that live in those areas, and they are part of our community, and I want their children to get the same experience that my children are getting. And so I think as we look at property taxes, that's what we've been given as a way to increase funding for the district. That's what we have. We can't expect the legislature to give us more and more money every single year. So I hate property taxes. I'm not looking forward to any discussions about raising property taxes. Do I think it'll happen in the future? Probably. Do I think it'll happen immediately this year or next year? I don't know. But the needs are significant, and with inflation going as quickly as it is, I mean, there's a lot of costs.
Thank you. Next question. What is the number one job of a school board member?
The number one job is to listen to my constituents, the people who vote me in, the people that I listen to, the people who reach out to me daily or weekly with their concerns, and the people that look to me for answers, and the people that I work with. So parents, the parents of the community. I represent them and their voices, and I represent them and their concerns, and I represent them and their children. That is the number one responsibility, and I take their concerns and their thoughts and their opinions and their experiences to the rest of the board, and we discuss and we work together as a board. But my main concern is representing those constituents and making sure that they feel heard and that they feel understood, and that I'm looking out for their kids and I'm looking out for them and their best interests.
I think the number one priority for a school board member needs to be the education of our students. It needs, sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, am I too quiet? I think that the number one priority of a school board member needs to be the education of our students. And to be really successful at making sure that all students are learning at high levels, to make sure that they are receiving the support that they need. And there is no way to do that without hearing from our parents, without hearing from our teachers, without hearing from our community members, and taking all of that in and using that input and those viewpoints to provide that. Parents know their kids. They know their kids. They know what their kids need. They know if their kid comes home from school and something's not going right in their classroom, they know that. So they need to be listened to. And our teachers know when there's something going on with a kid that's just not quite right. They need to be listened to when they say, this thing that's happening in the district, this policy isn't working. If a parent says this policy isn't working, we gotta listen to that. And it's difficult sometimes because you can have 27 kids in a class and you can have 27 different parents think 27 different things need to happen. And so there can be some conflict there in what ends up getting decided, but we do need to provide flexibility for our students, and our priority needs to be on high educational outcomes for all of our students.
After 4 years of serving on the school board, I remember being a school board member, a new one, and you just think, yeah, my job is to represent families, which it is, to kind of be that liaison between the community and the district. And it's funny, as I have been on the board even more, it is a really interesting balance. On one hand, you do support those families and to be able to make sure that they are connected enough and that you're listening. And yet on another hand, Alpine School District is one of the largest employers in Utah County. And we have 9,000 employees. And so balancing the needs of 4,500 school teachers and classified employees is a difficult job of a board member. I find that I have the most success as a board member when I am not in the foreground, but I'm in the background. When I'm able to do those things to be a stepping stone for our teachers and not a stumbling block, to get out of the way and make sure that they have the autonomy that they need in their classroom to do what they need to do. And at the same time, to be able to represent families and hear those concerns and to be able to take them back to the district and say, this is what I'm hearing, what's going on, and being able to trust those people that you work with in the district because they are wonderful professionals that provide us with that information that we need to make informed decisions. And so it is a balancing act. But at the end of the day, I think it's such a wonderful thing that we have a district that does listen. We have a superintendent that does listen. And I've watched him carefully in meetings and watched how his brain works, and he has such an ability to be able to balance the needs of parents and children and also the needs of employees, and that's something that we have to balance.
That was my son.
thought I said something wrong and I sent someone running out of the room.
He doesn't want to come down.
Okay, next question. Do you feel the public has enough access to ASD meetings? What would you change? Yes, or why not for access?
It's hot over there, huh? It's hot here too. Okay, I think over time we've made some great changes. Like I said, I've been going to all of the board meetings since late 2014, actually, early 2015. And they used to not be nearly as accessible. Like you could listen to the audio, but you couldn't watch it from home, you had to go. And I love some of the changes that we've had to make it more accessible for parents. It's been interesting since COVID happened and we moved our meetings to be online but live streamed. The number of people participating in our meetings has absolutely skyrocketed. It's incredible how many more people are participating and watching now that it's live streamed rather than when they had to come to the meeting, which is fascinating to me and I love it. We've added a few other things. For the meeting, we added an online way that people could give us comments that would be part of the meeting documents. So instead of only coming in person, you can also do online comments. And those comments have been amazing because I have so many people tell me, I want to come address the board, but I work on Tuesday nights, or my kid has dance at 6 o'clock, or whatever, and they can't be there for whatever reason. Well, now they can do an online comment that's also put into the board documents. Like I said, that extra meeting we had in January, we had 1,000 people give us online comments. You couldn't do that in a regular meeting. We'd be there for a month. So I think in some ways, COVID was hard on participation in meetings, and in other ways it was really great and opened up some new things that we've continued to do. We used to hold our meetings in schools once a month, but our schools can't handle the streaming. The Wi-Fi and the streaming isn't good enough to be able to do that. So we, as a board, decided to keep our meetings at the district office so we can keep them streaming, which I think is so great. It's such a great opportunity for people to be able to participate even if they can't physically come to the meeting.
Yeah, just like Amber said, COVID, I guess the one silver lining is we learned to be more innovative in how we communicate and the public can listen to us. I've been asked before, what is probably the best meeting you could go to with a board meeting? And I would say it would be the study session, even before a board meeting. That's when we get a lot of the information that's presented to us. So you get it the same time we're getting it. And I think then it kind of gives you context when you go to a board meeting, not that you want to spend 3 hours of your evening, but it gives you better context and you learn a lot of things. We've also added a feedback button on our website, and it's really great because you push the button, you give the feedback, and it goes directly to kind of the area where you have the complaint, and it will be answered. There's also something that you can do through the state. You have the ability to address a concern or a complaint with anonymity or not, and that goes right back to the district, and the board member president, the board member vice president are able to see that and respond. So I think I agree with Amber. Never before have we had ways where the public has more input and ability to be able to get the information out there. And we have improved. I mean, we've seen a lot of improvement over the last 4 years, and we're looking for any other ideas. If you have any ideas, to be able to share those with us so we can go back and share that with the district. We're always looking for better ways to communicate.
I have been attending the board meetings via Zoom, which I've really appreciated because sometimes I'm in that making dinner mode and shuffle the kids off. So I've really appreciated that opportunity to participate that way. I've also been attending in person, and I just really value the ability to be in person. I think the Zoom meetings are great, the online comments are great, but actually being there in person is a definitely different feel. Being able to hear public comment and being able to having masks removed and see how the board members are interacting with one another is I like being in person. It's more valuable to me, and I learn a lot from being there and being present. I know that one thing that sparked my interest in going to board meetings that was a little bit disappointing to me is when several community members were locked out of a board meeting and were not allowed to hear and be heard. And I just think that was unfortunate, very unfortunate. And moving forward, I think had that situation been handled differently, even if at the time that the board could have said, you know, we need to reconvene at a different time, a different location. There are people, there are parents who want to be heard. Parents want to be heard, and the board wants to hear them, or they should want to hear them. And that was an unfortunate black mark that many people have brought up numerous times and are concerned about moving forward. And many people have asked me, would I lock parents out of meetings? And my answer is no. If meetings need to be moved to a different time, a different location, a larger vicinity where people can have the opportunity to have input, that's great.
I think Amber, Sarah, if you'd like the opportunity to respond to that. You get 30 seconds.
I think like many governmental entities during COVID, we were holding a lot of our meetings online only. And some of those meetings were advertised as online, and then when people came to the meeting and were not allowed inside, there was upset. But most of those meetings that were held online were previously advertised as being online.
Sarah, do you want to speak to that as well?
No, thank you.
Okay, next question.
2 questions left. So
Okay.
you lost it.
Thanks, Craig. What is the role of schools with sex ed and physical and mental health? You get a 2 for 1.
I think Sarah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to remind us at this point.
Yeah.
I'm the board member that serves on the human sexuality committee, and that has been one of my, I guess, important concerns is making sure what's being taught, how it's being taught, and who's teaching it. And I have been really happily surprised that all of these things that they discuss, and for example, maturation, all of these things, parents have the ability to preview before their kids do. And parents have the opportunity when they get in junior high and high school to opt out of these programs if they don't feel comfortable with some of the curriculum that is there. And so that is still looked at through the lens of families and parents, which I really appreciate.
I support that idea that families and parents have that primary role of educating and teaching their kids in a comfortable environment, in a safe environment where they can answer any questions. Currently, with the maturation program, I've had one son go through that with my husband, but he talked to him about it beforehand, obviously, and as long as there's not anything too graphic and it's just sticking with the very basics, I think this maturation program can be beneficial and helpful. But I love the idea also of being able to opt your child out and having access to that information. My son did not participate in health at Mountain Ridge Junior High because he just flat out told me, I don't want to listen to this stuff, Mom. I'd rather hear it from you. I'm like, I'm good with that. I'll listen to you, and we opted him out. So that's what parents should do, listen to their kids.
So I love that one of the aspects of our sex ed curriculum is that it is opt-in. And I think that that is a really important part that we need to keep. So parents have the opportunity before that section of their class is taught, to choose which parts of that curriculum they would like their child taught, and to choose if they want any of it taught. They can choose which subjects, which items, when they want their kid there, when they don't want them there. They can go to the teacher and review all the materials even before they make that choice if they wish. And I do think that's a really important thing that we need to keep.
Okay, this is the last question before your closing statements. What are your thoughts on social emotional learning? If you are opposed, what will you do to move it from schools? And if you agree, why?
That has been a very hot topic also, as I've talked with a lot of parents. I actually had a phone call today with a parent who was very concerned about a online math program called Prodigy. And as he was looking through it with his third grader, he felt like some of the wording in there had nothing to do with math. Why are they talking about this? And so I know it's a concern to many parents, as it is to me. And I think that moving forward, it's integrated into every part of the curriculum. I mean, it's not just a topic that you teach in, or a class that you have in school. So we need to review the programs and the curriculum and have a very discerning eye about what the agenda is. Let's stick to the basics and educate our children on those basics.
I think one of the difficult things with social and emotional learning is that, again, people define it differently. And the definitions can be anything from, they have it's a very wide range of things. And I think most would agree that it's a good idea to teach kids not to be bullies. Well, that's a social and emotional thing that we would be teaching kids. And so I think some aspects of social and emotional learning are appropriate. I think some are not. And I think basically what we need to be doing is making sure that parents know what we're going to be teaching, that they know what's coming up, and give them the opportunity to say if they want their child to participate in that or not. And that's I think the best option for parents, because then they get to choose, they get to say what they want their kid to be participating in or not. And then for those parents who do want their child to participate, they can. For those who don't, they don't have to.
I think that with social emotional learning and health, it's been definitely a hot topic, but I think it's important to reemphasize that parents should be having these crucial conversations with their children. I think one of the best things that we can do as a community is to have dinner together again and ask your kids, how was your day? What did you learn? I think we forget that as parents, we do have opportunities and we have choices and we have the ability to be able to help our children understand things. I will say that this is a concern also with the district, and it's funny to me when I've been on the board 4 years, almost 4 years, and I can count on one hand how many times people have called me and said, I'm concerned about what's being taught in the classroom. And that surprised me. And I love the fact that when those concerns come up, that we're able to go and to turn around and go back to a principal or to a teacher and have it taken care of at a local level. I just wanted to share with you a little bit of what the district wants teachers to do, and to be careful with social emotional health and things like CRT, but to be transparent, to keep content, materials, and curriculum and supplemental supplies age appropriate. All materials should be vetted and linked before sharing. Classrooms should not be forums to express political views. This is something that we as a district care about, and I personally care about, but I really hope that as parents that we get more involved, but taking more control and doing things that we can do in our own homes. And it starts with us, and having those things like dinner and having those kind of conversations, I think can be a huge game changer in our homes, in our families, in our communities, and at our schools.
Okay, we'll now have, Greg, how many minutes for closing statements?
You have up to 4 minutes. Don't have to take it if you don't want, but you have 4 minutes to make your closing statements. And I think we're starting with Lana now.
Okay.
Well, it's been an honor to run for office and get to know so many of you. I've had so many learning experiences and great conversations, and I come back to the idea and the realization that we live in a wonderful place. We are surrounded by wonderful people. We have wonderful schools and we have wonderful teachers, and those are privileges that I am extremely grateful for. That's why so many of us have stayed here for so long. It's because we want our kids to experience the wonderful society that we live in and the amazing schools that are around us. I'm grateful for that. I think things can continue to improve and get better as we work together as parents and work together as a community and communicate. It takes a lot of communication, a lot of listening, a lot of learning, and we just need to have those open debates and open forums where no one feels threatened, no one feels less than, and everyone feels valued and appreciated, even if we don't see eye to eye. And people won't. We're going to have differing opinions from one community to another. But the important thing is that we are trying to work together for the benefit of our children. We want our children to have the same freedoms, the same understanding of freedoms that we grew up with. I want my children to have that same understanding of freedom. And that's why I'm running, because I know that without people out there striving every single day to ensure those freedoms and to explain those, then we lose sight of those, and we get relaxed as a society and as a people. And I think sometimes that has happened over COVID. A lot of different situations have arisen because of that. But I also believe that a lot of people have woken up. Their eyes are opened now, and they're willing to get involved, and they're wanting to get involved. I find that really exciting, really exciting. Never at a time have I seen so many people with a desire to see change happen. And we are at a critical, pivotal moment, I believe, in not only in our communities, in our schools, but also in our state and our country. And now is the time to get involved. Now is the time to support one another and listen and advocate for freedoms. And I know that moving forward, we can do that, and we can create a better future for ourselves and for our children. And that's why I'm running, and I hope I can receive your support. I am very passionate about my children having the same freedoms that I have, and I love this community. My husband and I, he's a builder, and we built our home. We have no intention of leaving. It will probably be our graves. We'll probably be buried there. We love the community, and we want to be a part of it, and look forward to being more a part of it in years to come as we continue to have our family grow here. And thank you so much for coming out tonight. It's been a pleasure to talk with so many of you and meet so many of you, and I just really have relished in the moment to learn more about each of you, and because we're a society, we're a community, and I think we all want what's best. We all just want our kids to be safe and to feel loved, and that's what we're working for, and that's what I'm working for. Thanks.
4 minutes is a long time. Okay, I think in summary, I love the community I live in. I love the people, I love the schools, I love the values of the community. I grew up in Linden, and then we moved not very far to Cedar Hills, and I just have loved it. And because of that, I've had a strong desire for years to just contribute back to my community and to do what I can to help. And so that's how I've gotten involved as my kids were little even. I'm the precinct chair for my precinct right now. I've been a delegate multiple times for the Republican Party. Like I said earlier, I've done all kinds of different things to try to make our schools and our community strong, because I love this community and I love the values that we have here. I hope to never leave this area. My husband may disagree because he's from out of state, but I love it here. So I think the most important thing we can do is to educate our kids and to help our kids be even better and reach heights that we weren't able even to reach. And that's so important to me, that we do what we can to help our kids improve their lives. And so as I've been a board member, I've purposely done all I can to reach out to parents. I've done things to help parents understand what we're doing at the school level, what we're doing at the district level, what's happening there, give them additional ways to give us their feedback, because I really think it takes all of us as a community pulling together to make our schools the best they can be. And I love talking to parents. I get to talk to parents a lot. I go to school community council meetings, PTA meetings a lot. I've been to all of the schools in what will be ASD 4 and have visited all of those. I talk to parents there, ask them what their concerns are at their school, ask them what would they like, what do they like, what would they like to see changed. And we have so many great teachers, so many great parents, so many great administrators, and I think it's a great team as we pull together and we try to really improve education for our students. And I think that is hopefully the goal of that team is to do the best we can for each individual student.
I've been really grateful tonight to be able to sit with two wonderful ladies that I really feel like understand values and principles of our community. Education is important to me in whatever facet that looks like. My husband was homeschooled and private schooled, and now he's a public school teacher. He's kind of done the realm, and I appreciate his parents who are here tonight, but to say that all kids have to find their feet and find what's good for them. I remember when I was running about 4 years ago, and our son, who was going to be a senior at American Fork High School, we challenged him to do something that next year that would get him out of his comfort zone. So we gave him a couple weeks, and he came back and he said, I know what I want to do. I want to go to American Heritage, the private school. And I went, I'm running for public school, right? And I have to tell you, it was a wonderful experience for my son. It was a good experience at that school. And I just appreciate that we're surrounded by a community that appreciates education no matter what it looks like. I will say that public education is a little bit different in the sense that my son thrived at American Heritage, but in public school, there's different safety nets for kids. If they don't fit in a place, we can find something that does fit. And that is, to me, the most wonderful thing about public school is we can individualize that to a student. And I feel like Utah's unique in that direction and in that way. And I feel like Alpine School District is really unique because we're surrounded with people who care about families. We love families, and that's what I love. And I would appreciate another 4 years to be able to defend the families and to help teachers and to be able to give them the supports that they need in their classroom to succeed. And by nature, I'm not really a micromanager. I just kind of get out of people's way and I trust people. I do. I think 99.9% of the time, people are good and you just have to give them the chance. And I guess that may sound like I'm falsely or hopelessly positive, but I think I'm just an optimist by nature. And I think to lead, you have to be able to be an optimist. You have to be able to see that there are good things in the future for our kids and to put a smile on your face and say, things are hard, but we can work through it. My son who's graduating this year, he said that he's had the best high school experience. And I was dumbfounded because this is a kid who started his sophomore year with the pandemic and is ending it in his senior year with the pandemic. And I was grateful for his optimistic attitude. And I think as adults, we owe that to our kids. And I think I have the ability to be able to get the teachers and the parents and hopefully get us on the same page and look that we all agree on one thing. We care about kids. Maybe the avenue or how we go about it looks different, but we need to focus on that positive. I think we need to buckle up. I think there's going to be some difficulties coming in the next couple of years, and I think if we are separated and we are not unified, but we are divided, we will not make it. But I have faith in this community. I feel like we all care about children, and we care about education, and we care about families, and I hope that when you think about me in June or these ladies, that you'll give me a chance and to be able to represent you and your family. Thank you.
Okay, a few thank yous. First of all, to you for coming tonight. Second of all, can we give the candidates one more round of applause for each one of them? Also to Greg, and I'll let him say a few words for literally opening up his home on a Friday night. And again, thank you for telling us. I would just ask that moving forward, whether you're vetting these candidates or others for other offices, that there's just a level of respect. I've been in these positions, I am currently with City Council, but online and in person, it can get really ugly. And that's the last thing we need in our communities and is hate going on. Have respectful conversations. Tonight, I don't know all of you very well, but after tonight, I do believe that you can have a respectful conversation with each of them and talk to them about their views and share yours, and there would be a good discussion and conversation. We just have enough hate going on that just doesn't need to continue. But I know each of you coming tonight can have those respectful conversations and get to where you need to in a place where you feel comfortable voting for those people and your families. So with that, I'll turn the time over to Greg.
Round of applause again for Sid Malone. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And for me, this has been an amazing evening. So I've got 3 daughters, and we have 4 amazing women here
that are public servants that are good examples to my children. And I'm just grateful for them, so I'd like to just give them a round of applause again. Thank you so much. Each one of the candidates do have leaflets, pamphlets, or something over on the table. More than welcome to take it. I do want to make a couple of acknowledgments. We do have with us Aaron Davison. He is running for county clerk. And so you're more than welcome to ask me questions, I'm sure. And we also have Kim Belgrosso. She's running for state board school. And who am I missing?
Cindy Davis.
What's that?
Cindy Davis.
Oh, Cindy Davis also running for state board school. Or you're the incumbent, correct? The incumbent for state board. Okay. Did I miss anybody else? Feel free to talk to them. Thank you for coming to my home. Appreciate it. Stay as long as you like.
Yes, it's on right now, yeah.
Like the recording will be?
Yep, as soon as I end it, it'll be on there.
I need that beginning
Good, how are you?
I've got a couple questions for you from people that were on the live stream. For all three of you. Yeah. What do you think about the microaggression training that's been going on here? Teachers are being taught not to say things like bullies and what do you think about the parents that were locked out of the meetings, and some of them were charged with tapping on the glass or honking the horn outside?
I mean, to listen to this conversation, contrast that with what we had in that we talk about CRT and
State Attorney General, they were violation of City Deans Act. What do you do if you're running
talk a little bit about it. It's kind of moderate your position. I think it's strong. These past 2 weeks, I've talked to her. She's been a lot stronger. Taking off her space.
You did great, by the way. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Are you Adam?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Annie Taylor. I was texting your phone and you were nothing and There's a lot of questions that I wish
Yep. Definitely. Yeah. Thanks for advising.
Say if you can go back, would you change that? Or the things you could do now to rectify that? Because there's things that they
Hey, what'd you think of the debate?
I thought it was super soft. It's like elephant in the room to me. The parents in here who are at the meeting, they were locked out, and they charged parents for knocking on the window for 8 seconds and they were locked out. I'm not even mad at the attorney general's office already got mad at them and said they did it wrong. Don't do it again. And they're still charging parents. So the fact that we're asking this question is really frustrating for me because this is a huge deal to me. I have 5 children who attend Alpine School District, and it needs to be addressed. This is like a really important thing. You can't ignore parents and talk about just because you don't want to hear parents. They also had an entire team in there. They honored that night. So it was not a COVID thing. Despite what Amber just said, it's not a COVID thing. They let us in the meeting before, locked that door that way. They obviously have strong feelings about it, but we need to address the real stuff. It's not just the soft one. And you can say you're going to CRT, but what happens when it goes in our schools and our pronouns and all that crap? So don't just say I don't like it. Anyway.
Who do you think did the best?
Lana. She's refreshing to me. I feel like they both do it. As the board, we're the board.
Are they both on the board?
Yeah, they're both on the board.
They're both running for the same seat?
Yeah, because they're redistricting. There's 2 incumbents in the same district. So Lana's the only one coming in. And she's coming in to listen to parents, support parents. I had someone tell me that they just, well, actually tell me that they comments of this, but Aaron Fulton said that he submitted something on the feedback that the Amber's talking about. Because they were pushing for, all these like,
Yeah, economic opinion.
yes, thank you.
The top components of it.
Yes, and they didn't talk about it, and then they just he had to put it on social media, and they removed that. That kind of stuff. And the teacher, Leah, that went to that huge rant,
Yeah.
kids that got fired. The only reason she got fired was because of social media. So we have to blow this stuff up, or they don't do anything. So we have to blow up this stuff about parents in charge, because they didn't do anything to fix it. Anyway, frustrating.
I'll tell you're frustrated. Yeah, no problem.
So like,
No, you're fine. I'm going to. You heard that lady? Cindy?
Then they go to class and students learn.
Cindy, you got a quick second? I had some people asking questions on the live stream that I just wanted to get your take on really fast.
Well, we're going to have a debate on the 21st,
Okay.
and it's going to be, so
Where
that
at?
would probably be the best. It's going to be online for anyone to participate.
Where's that going to be at?
It's going to be on, it's a
No, like
Charter
where?
Association online. It's not in person, it's
Oh,
online.
okay.
So it's the Charter Association, the politics from the Utah Center, the PTA, the whole bunch of associations are running a debate on the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
So that, my kids are home alone right now, but that would be the time for everybody to tune in because it's going to be really good. And I have 4 cottage meetings kind of coming up too.
Can you answer just a CRT question real fast?
Yes, happy to.
Okay.
Really fast because my kids are home alone.
Okay,
But
so real fast.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not going to get taped, but yes, I'll answer
Oh,
for you.
well.
Yeah.
That was it's live right now, so.
Well, what's your question? I'll hurry really quick. I hate rushing through it and not being thoughtful if it's going to go on.
Are you promoting the CRT, SEL in schools? Do you like that in our schools?
No, it can't. CRT can't be taught in our schools. There's already a board rule that prohibits it.
What about SEL?
SEL, I don't support transformational SEL. I do support things like if there's an extra room, if a child's parent got put in the hospital the night before and they're having a meltdown and they need a place to catch their breath for 10 minutes, I support things like that. But I don't support what is being considered a transformational type of SEL. And that's probably a longer conversation. So.
would you do a citizens debate too? I'm a state delegate, so it'd be nice to have, instead of the PTA
Absolutely.
and all those running it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Happy to.
Okay.
Cool.
But you got to schedule soon because all the nights are scheduling up with cottage meetings.
Yeah.
And I'm county delegate, so I got to meet with
It's like Eric said, it's on the website, we promote it.
So I should have said, why are you
So do you live by like written laws and grand grammar? Is that how you do it? You live by that? Oh. Okay. Natalie used to live in my room before she lived and she lived by
There's like 15. Yeah. But we'll probably get some more, like as the delegate group approve the post, more people will watch it.
Yeah, so like I said,
I love your setup.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
like I said, I
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, man. What'd you think?
It was all right.
Yeah.
Not quite as exciting as ASD 7 debate.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. You know, obviously I wanted to shout out at some different times within the debate. Like the fact